Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Alisa Sladzinska, and I work for the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, BACP. Welcome to the BACP Business Education Workshop Webinar Series. We have adapted our regular business education workshops at City Hall into these webinars until further notice. On behalf of our Commissioner, Rosa Escarino, I want to inform you that business licenses can be processed online where applicable by visiting chicagobusinessdirect.org. And any emails or websites that I mentioned will be posted in the chat, so you'll be able to reference them there. If you are part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. If you want to learn about the program, please visit chicago.gov/business-education. To help guide your business and employees during Chicago's reopening process, including the modified guidelines, please visit chicago.gov/reopening. Also, BACP and the City of Chicago's Office of Emergency Management and Communications created Shy Biz Emergency Alerts. You can opt in to receive targeted emergency alerts for the business community. If you are interested, please visit chicago.gov/Shy Biz Alerts. And we encourage attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box and send your questions to all panelists. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. And today's webinar will be Accounting in QuickBooks, presented by Trak Patel of ARC Consulting. Welcome, Trak.
Good afternoon. Thanks very much for the introduction. Thank you everyone for joining us today on this working session. So today we're going to talk about a number of things. Obviously, we'll be talking about QuickBooks and kind of give you a little bit of an overview of our presentation here. So the overall presentation is going to be, there's not a ton on the actual PowerPoint, it's more hands-on. So I want everyone to be able to see what the product looks like, to be able to understand it, what it means to use it. And there'll be a number of things I'll be walking everybody through. The agenda will look like, how do you set up a QuickBooks, what the navigation looks like, what's the difference between desktop QuickBooks, what's the difference, and online, what are the pros and cons, benefits of using one versus the other. And then some basics of, some of the key things that you should be aware of as a new business owner or even an existing business owner that is looking to use software platform to manage your day-to-day business from an accounting side of things. So I'll walk you through all of that, and then of course take on questions around the accounting aspect of using QuickBooks as well. So if anybody has questions along the way, please don't hesitate to ask. So, yes.
Before we begin, can you please share your screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Yep, I missed that part. Let me just quickly show the agenda as I talked about here. The 4 different items that we'll be talking about overall. So why don't we get into the meat of the conversation here. So like I said, there's 2 different types of products. There's a desktop and an online version of QuickBooks. So the most important thing for you to, decide is which one is best for you. There's, both are good, both have different, pros and cons from using it. Some people prefer using the desktop, some people prefer using online, but they both do the same thing. The one main difference that one should be aware of is on a cost basis. So online, because it is online, let me show you, I have a sample file up here. Online is a monthly service fee, and the fee varies depending on the type of plan that you choose. There's basic, essential, and premium, and just gives you additional features, but depending on the type of need that you may have, you may not need all of it, so you can start off with the cheaper one, and then if it looks like you need more features, you can go up. But it runs around $40 a month for the online feature. Now, if you go with the desktop, of course, you have to download it to your computer, the software, load it, and then run it off your desktop. So with this one, it's a one-time cost, and they typically run around $200-300, and you can find QuickBooks on Amazon fairly easily. Right now, you can probably find 2020 for probably $200-300. So there is a noticeable difference. You really don't need to upgrade for another 4 years or 5 years, something like that. They do offer new products every year. That's the number one thing. The other, obviously, is the fact that with online, you do have capability of accessing QuickBooks anywhere. So it doesn't have to be your computer. It can be on anybody's computer. You can access it. So there are differences, obviously, with the desktop. Wherever you have it stored on your computer, if it's on a server or if it's on your hard drive, it's the only place you can access it. So those are some of the key things that you have to be mostly aware of from the cost perspective, and of course the easeability of how you can access the data. So let's get into the two differences. I'll compare and contrast between the two and walk you through some of the QuickBooks features that it has and the importance of it. Now, let me explain why you should use QuickBooks. You can use any type of product. I don't get paid by QuickBooks or Intuit to do this. In our firm, we use QuickBooks for everything, for all of our accounting, for all our clients. It is one of the most powerful software out there. There are other products that can do it. There's tons of software out there, but by far, I found QuickBooks to be the best. And it's fairly easy to use, and it's pretty comprehensive. The main reason you should have good books, especially using some type of software, whether it's this or any other product, is from a financial perspective. One, if you're running your own business, you need to know how your business is performing. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients, tell me that, when we do tax returns for their businesses, they give us, an Excel spreadsheet. Here's my income expenses, which is all good. But, you need to know how your business is performing month over month. You can't wait to the end of the year and find out that, oh my God, I can't believe I lost, this much money. That's not how it should be. Every month you should be looking at your financials. How much revenue did you bring in? How much expenses were there? And then analyzing it even further to see, okay, how much did I spend on, meals, or how much did I spend on travel? All those things are very important, and QuickBooks can help you do that. And you can run reports fairly easily to do that. And I'll show you how you can do that as well. Additionally, if you're ever going out for any types of loans, whether it's for a line of credit, or if you already have a business and you want to, go to a bank and get a loan because maybe you need to buy more inventory, you want to grow your business, guess what? You're going to need really good financials to provide to the banker, because they're going to ask for your balance sheet, they'll ask for your income statement, and of course, they'll ask for your tax returns. But these are things that you can't just, put together in a spreadsheet and give it to them, because they'll want to see that you have proper bookkeeping. And then, if you do, then they'll be able to give you, an appropriate loan. So let's start off with the QuickBooks Online. So this is what we call a dashboard. When you log in, this is what you'll see. High level, I just picked this one service company. It's a landscaping service, but the concept is the same regardless if you have retail, manufacturing, if you have online. Concept doesn't change. Just some of how you do the accounting might be different, but overall concept doesn't change. So here's the dashboard. Pretty much what it tells you is, on the left-hand side, if you have any invoices issued, you can issue invoices right through QuickBooks. We do that in our firm, where we issue invoices right through the system. It'll show you whatever's unpaid, whatever got paid, expenses, and profit and loss. Just a quick overview for a period, and you can, of course, change the parameters here. You can, on the drop downs and say, oh, I want to see what it was last month. This is a quick and dirty view as well. Now, let's see what the QuickBooks Desktop looks like from a dashboard perspective. This is their dashboard. And if we go to this insight, they have very similar type of concept that does the same thing. It's showing, oh, here's the amount of unpaid invoices I have. Here's how many are paid. Here's how much in expenses I have. Here's kind of the breakdown. Here's what my profit looks like. So as you can see, very similar concept. They do the same thing, online and desktop, except one key thing with the desktop, it has far more features and capabilities. It's a much, much more powerful tool than the online. But of course, like I said, it depends on your situation and what you want to use it for. Everybody's situation is different. The feature, the neat feature of QuickBooks Desktop and online is it has full integration with the bank. Okay, the online is actually a little bit better than the desktop. Right here, as you see, you can see that they've got a checking, a savings account, and a Visa and MasterCard. So you can have a direct feed coming straight from your bank account right into QuickBooks. So whenever a transaction hits your bank account, whether it's a credit card or a checking account or any type of savings account, it will directly come right in here. As you can see in this sample file, this happens to be a checking account. There's a number of transactions that have come through and fed in to QuickBooks, and they need to be allocated. When we say allocated, meaning, okay, if there's payment, if you got deposits, there's probably revenue. You have to go line by line. Sorry about that. You have to go line by line and input it. So you would go here, for example, input, okay, what is this? It's some type of income. So I'll type in, it's design income, or maybe, product income. And then you add it and it goes right into your register. Now, let's look at desktop. How does that differ from this? Now, within the desktop, there is a feature where you can direct to a connection to the bank account right through here. But I found that to be a little bit quirky. So what we typically recommend, if you're doing this on your own, is go to your bank's website. All banks, majority of the banks, there's a few banks that don't have this capability. And US Bank, for example, is one of them, where you can download the transactions in a QuickBook format and then upload it. In this situation, all we would have to do is go to import and then import a Web Connect file and import it right into QuickBooks, and then you can do the same exact thing that we talked about on the other file. Just go here, and where did it go? Right here in the bank feeds. This bank feeds is the same exact feature as you see online, where the bank transactions are coming in. Same concept. You go in, you figure out what transactions are in here. Like in this one, there's a transaction in here. A credit card needs to be allocated. Same concept. And you have to allocate it. Now, the neat thing about QuickBooks is if you already have a transaction in there, it will automatically recognize it and match it. In this example, it's automatically recognized because it's already in QuickBooks. Same thing online. Here, if we go down, it's saying one record found, one record found. So if you are using the check feature within QuickBooks to print checks right out of here, and you've recorded those transactions in QuickBooks, you can pull them right over. It'll automatically match it. That is the power of the software. It is pretty slick. So it reduces the amount of effort that you have to put into, do the day-to-day accounting. But it does have the feature. Of course, it's only as good as how you put into it and how accurate of course, it is in the information that you put into QuickBooks, because that's the most important thing is that garbage in is garbage out. One of the other neat features, so just to kind of give you an idea, on the desktop, all these other, if they have multiple accounts, it's going to be listing it in here as well. So one of the other neat features within QuickBooks, like I said, is generation of invoices. So depending on the type of business you have, if you have a service business where you invoice your customers or your clients, you can generate those invoices right through QuickBooks. So if you want to set up a template that, okay, here's what it's going to look like with your logo, you can do all that. And the same thing with online and desktop. And in desktop, for example, all I would have to do is create an invoice. They make it fairly, easy to be able to do this. And I'll just pick a customer. I'm like, oh, I want to send this customer an invoice. And you just go through and type in, however you've set it up, like, oh, I'm doing a design in this particular customer. So it automatically pops up the information. Your rate is this, and the quantity, if you change the quantity, for example, if I make it to 3, it should automatically change the amounts on here as well. It doesn't like it. So we'll have to keep it as 1. And the prices can be set as well. That is weird. Okay. And then the other neat feature in QuickBooks is once you've created the invoice, you can actually email directly the invoice right through here as an integration in there as well. And it emails right to your customer or client the actual invoice. Similarly, on the online, you can do the same exact thing. If we were to go to the sales, let's say we go to the customer. Okay, a little bit slower. So let's say we wanted to create, we'll pick this first customer. And we want to create a new invoice. Just create an invoice, same concept. As long as all the information is in there, all the billing information, the terms, everything will populate. And you do have to do a setup. Like, for example, all of this has to be set up so it automatically populates everything, just like on the desktop. You have to do the same thing in the online version. And then you can issue an invoice right through here to your customer via email as well. I'll just do save and close, and I'll save it. So one of the most important thing about QuickBooks, see, here you go. See, it's generating an invoice. It's like, yep, go ahead and send it. He's got the email in here, of course. I'll just say send and close. One of the neat thing about QuickBooks is you can track how much receivables you have. You can run reports very quickly. That's where it becomes really important, especially if you have invoices that you're sending to customers and clients. And the reporting functionalities very, very powerful with QuickBooks, which I'll go through in a minute. The other, outside of invoicing to customers, you can also track all of your payments that you have to make to your vendors as well. Same thing on the desktop as you can do online. With the this is the online, obviously. With the online, all you would have to do is go under the expense category, which is right over here. Here are your list of vendors. Of course, you have to set up all your vendors. You can set them up as you go. By creating a new vendor, like so, inputting all the appropriate information that you need to. Of course, it's extremely important to make sure that especially if you have independent contractors that you're dealing with, individuals that you're paying, let's say you have a janitorial service, or you may have a landscaping service that you're, in your business, or that you're getting service for, or you do some renovation and you're paying an independent contractor to do work and you're writing a check. It's very important to get their either their social security number, if they're individuals, or their tax ID number, because you do want to issue a 1099 at the end of the year. Because if you do not issue a 1099, and you only have to issue if it's over $600, and you do get audited, the first thing the IRS will see is, oh, you paid, X amount in fees in repairs, or professional fees, or you did X amount in repairs. Can you please show me your 1099s that you issued? And if you do not have, copies of that, or if you did not issue them, the penalty for not issuing a 1099 is $1,000 per 1099 not issued. So the penalties are very stiff, and it can add up. And then what they would do is, one, they'll make you go back and issue it. Or if you can't get access to their information, they will just say, okay, well, we're going to have to go back and include them as an employee, and it's a big mess. So just make sure you get their social security numbers or tax ID numbers. Issue a W-9. It's very important. So with a vendor, you can also, it's extremely important to track all your vendor invoices, because the biggest thing that people fail, one of the most important that a lot of reasons businesses fail is because, they spend too much, or they're not tracking how much they owe. Or they're just saying, oh yeah, I have 5 invoices coming next month, or I have them sitting on my desk, but they have no idea how much they are. And then, they're just pretty much going, in essence, paycheck to paycheck with their business, which is not how you want to run a business. So somebody just asked a question, can I track orders you placed as well, like the details of those orders, inventory with individuals? So the inventory functionality is not exactly the best in here. So I wouldn't recommend using, you can try, but it's not really that great. But if you're sending out invoices, you can obviously track every single invoice through QuickBooks, because you can run reports out of that. So when it comes to accounts payable, which is what we're doing here, you should input every single invoice that you get in here, even if it's going to be due tomorrow or due in 2 days. Because what if you get the same invoice twice and you paid by mistake? You don't want to do that. So one of the most important things that we do for a lot of our clients is where they want us to actually do the payment processing and so on. We'll actually track everything line by line, and also by vendor. And the nice thing is you can see all your vendors in here, and you can see the amount due. In this screen is just showing the open balances right here. You can see that, oh, okay, I have 1 purchase order open, I have 4 overdue invoices, and then I have 3,000 in invoices that are going to be that's already been paid. Now on the desktop version, you can do the same exact thing. Let's back out of this. Let's go ahead and save. Let's just hit cancel. Joys of technology. Okay, so with invoicing from bills, you can enter your bills here. So you can just go here, and I want to enter a bill. And if you know the vendor's name, you can type it up, or you can just go to the drop down and oh, I got a bill from Bayshore Water, and automatically populate everything. And of course, you can put in your invoice number, put in the account that it's going to go to. So maybe it's water, so it's utilities. Okay, maybe you can say it's water, and the amount was for, let's say, $200. Automatically populated there, and then you can save it. I'll talk about the class feature in a second here, but you can input all of this information and track it. The other neat feature that QuickBooks Online and Desktop has is if you, say, have projects that you're working on, let's say you are a builder, or you're, or you're a contractor that works multiple projects and you want to know, okay, how profitable each project is. Well, within QuickBooks, you can track it, what they call by class, which is kind of slick. So if you want to know that you have, house A, here's how much expenses I've incurred. House B, here's how much expenses I've incurred. You can track it by each category, by each class, as we call it class here. In this example, this is a landscaping company. Well, this person wants to track how much, income or profit they're making based on the different types of projects, design, landscaping, maintenance. You can do that. This is very useful, especially if you have real estate businesses or if you have multiple, like I said, projects going on and you want to track 4 of the different things. It's really slick. So I'll just say it's design. Save and close it. So I just had a question about sole proprietor, asking about would I need to issue myself a 1099 at the end of the year? No, you don't. If you're a sole proprietor, that does not count. It's only if you have third parties that you have to pay, make a payment to. That's the only way you would have to issue it. And there's nothing that would trigger an audit if you don't issue a 1099. It's just if you do get audited, they will ask for it. That's the only reason I mentioned it. Somebody asked about that. And QuickBooks, the neat feature about QuickBooks is it does recognize duplicate vendors. And that's why it's really critical to input invoices in here. It'll also recognize duplicate invoices as well. So let's say you received an invoice, 1234 from ARC Consulting, you input it into QuickBooks, whether it's online or desktop, and then you get another invoice from ARC Consulting 2 weeks later for invoice 1234, and then you try to input it again, thinking it's a new invoice. Well, guess what? It'll say, oh, wait, you already have this invoice in QuickBooks. Guess what? This is not something you want to input. You want to input it. You can override it and still input it. But it will warn you that, guess what, it is a duplicate. So that is a very, very nice feature that it has, that it does allow you to, to do that. It is very slick. It does recognize that. So when you're invoicing, you cannot attach any documents or anything with that. If you wanted to, you can include, it would attach it to an email if you wanted to send it that way, but the invoicing feature just does that. Now, the other neat capability that QuickBooks offers is if you are in an industry where you take payment via invoicing, if you have customers or clients, Intuit has a merchant account services, no different than Square or PayPal or anybody else who offers these merchant services. But the neat thing is it is 100% integrated with QuickBooks. For example, if you issue an invoice, whether it's from desktop or from online, and you use QuickBooks or Intuit's merchant service processing, it will automatically send them through, if you have the email, it'll send them an email with the invoice attached, a PDF, and a link within the email showing, click this email link, it'll take them to the site and they can make a payment, whether it's by credit card, if you authorize them to charge, or by ACH. And then you get the payment directly electronically deposited into your bank account typically in 2 business days. So it's very slick, it's very fully integrated. And then of course, when you do that, you can receive the invoice right in here and then record it right into QuickBooks. And then when you download the transactions, it will automatically match it, like I had mentioned previously. So in this situation, like, oh, I got a $40 payment, I'm going to go ahead and record it. Automatically recorded it. And how do we do that? Let's say you got a payment, you say receive payment. Come on, let's go. And the only way I can really do it is if I knew what the receivables were. Type in a customer name, it'll automatically pop it up, and then you can receive the payment. Same thing with online. You can go to a customer. You can even go into a customer category on the desktop as well. You can say, oh, I received this payment, click receive payment, and it'll get recorded Yep, if you only got one invoice, you can just uncheck one of the boxes, only record one of them. And you can say, okay, save and close it. I received it, and it'll get recorded automatically. It's very intuitive. And you can use QuickBooks Online pretty much with any browser. That's one of the questions I had, somebody was asking. QuickBooks does have, somebody's asking if it integrates with e-commerce sites like Shopify. It does have integration with a lot of websites, but you would need to investigate those types of integrations. And honestly, on all Shopify, a lot of these sites, I would be very careful on how you integrate it and what you want to use it for, because sometimes the integration makes it more complicated. So let's talk about some other functionalities within QuickBooks. Let's go to the reporting functionalities. Now, like I had mentioned previously, it's extremely important to know how you're doing financially, how you're making money this month, if you're losing money next month. So it's extremely important to run your financials. Now, what are financials? They're a profit and loss statement. Profit and loss is, okay, how much income did you earn? How much expenses did you incur? Whether it's in a given month, in a given quarter, or a given year. And desktop really gives a great ability to do that. Or sometimes it's desktop, sorry, QuickBooks has a great ability to do that, whether it's desktop or online. Right now, let me just show you online. When you go to the report section, it shows all the different types of reports you can run. On the favorites, this is pretty much kind of like a default. It'll show you the AR aging summary, accounts receivable is AR, short for AR, a balance sheet, and profit and loss. I'll explain what a balance sheet is because it's extremely important to know what that is. Let's just run a profit and loss, okay? And if you click it, it will take you to the next screen and show you your profit and loss. Now, this is showing me year to date, okay? If I want to change to just last month, today, you can do that, okay? So as you look at the profit and loss statement, okay, it breaks it up between income. So in this situation, this company is set up so they break down income in different categories, like design income, if there's any discounts given, landscaping services, labor income. So if you have those types of different types of income, you can do that. Now, it also breaks down the cost as well, like advertising. It depends on how you've allocated all your expenses, whether it's job expenses like here, whether it's meals. So it goes as detailed as you want it. So the more detailed, the better, of course. And this is where it becomes extremely important to analyze your financials. Okay, so in this year to date, the income that was generated right here, it says total income was, $10,000. The total expenses right here were $2,900. So we're talking about other total net income of $1,700, because we also have cost of goods sold, which is separated out. So when you add up all the other expenses, it adds up. And we have a miscellaneous expense of $2,900 and total expenses of, $5,000 here. So it comes out to about $1,700. So this gives you a really good analysis of what you're doing in a given period. Now, the other neat thing about QuickBooks is you can compare. This is what I love to do. You can compare to prior year. And this is extremely important because it really helps you understand how you're performing from prior year. So if I just click it and run the report, it will show you exactly the comparison. Well, it doesn't have any data from last year in this sample file, but it would show you, okay, how much income you earned in the prior year in the same period, how much expenses, and you can see how well or poorly you did. Same thing with the desktop. Let me just quickly show you that. Let's back out of this particular field. Go to reports, and in the reports, you can under the company and financial, here are all the different types of reports you can run. And the P&L standard is the same exact report that was run online. And it's defaulted to this month. So I can once again change it. I want to see it year to date. There you go, year to date. It thinks it's December, so it's showing it October to December. I don't know, the setup is a little clunky in the samples, but it doesn't really matter. It's all about the concept. Once again, same thing, income up to here, expenses underneath here, and then it has your net income. Net income is after all the expenses. Same concept. You can customize a report to show what the prior period looked like. I want to see how much I did in the previous year comparison. So similarly, this one has some data, so you can see that, okay, well, let's see, how much did I do last year? I did about total income of $4,200. Okay, compared to this year, wow, I'm up by $61,000. So you can see the comparisons. You can also adjust your based on this, you can do the analysis and figure out, this is where I need to cut my cost, or wow, I can't believe I didn't spend enough on my advertising. I need to do more. So this really helps you analyze your financials. The next report I want to talk to you about is balance sheet. Okay, so a balance sheet is a little bit more complicated conversation than the 2 or 3 minutes I'm going to spend on it. But a balance sheet, in essence, if you want to think of it this way, pretty much gives you your total assets that you have. Well, what's an asset? Your cash, maybe, if you have inventory, your inventory. If you have equipment, trucks, all of that are your assets, okay? Your receivables, if you have invoices outstanding, that's an asset. All of those things are assets. And then it gives you all your liabilities. What's a liability? Anything that you owe, okay? Maybe, of course, accounts payable. Accounts payable is any vendor you may owe. As long as you input it in here, it will pop up. That's why it's so important to input all the vendors that you owe money to. And then if you have, credit card balances, that's a, payment, that's liability. That's a debt that you owe credit card company. Or if you have a loan from a bank, that's a liability. And then the last item on the balance sheet is called equity. In essence, equity is one, what did you put into the company? One, if you started a business, you put in $10,000, that's your equity. And equity can go up or down depending on how profitable you are in your business. So the more your business is profitable, your equity will grow in the business. So if you're ever going for a loan, or if you're ever, doing any type of financial transactions with any type of institution, they will require you to give a balance sheet. They want to see it. So this is an important financial report that is needed. And this is why I was saying you can't just magically put one together unless using some type of software, because it's not that easy. I could do it manually, but it would take me a long time to do it. And I'm an accountant and I would not want to do it. I'll tell you that right now. So it's a big pain. But if you have a software, it does it instantly. So that's why it's extremely important to do it. Similarly, on the desktop, let me pull this up here. Sorry about that. Yeah, thing is popping up here. There we go, it went away. All right, you go into the reports, company financials, balance sheet. Same concept, right? I don't want to go through it again, but that's how you run a balance sheet. It does the same thing. So desktop, online, same, very similar concepts. I'm getting some questions here. Okay, one of the other features that I'll probably get to in one of the questions that popped up is payroll. The neat thing about QuickBooks, it also has the capability of doing payroll right within the QuickBooks desktop or online. Now, it's an extra feature that you have to pay for. It's not in the example, it's showing up on here, but if you don't have the feature, this doesn't show up at all. Same thing online, it's an extra feature that you have to pay. If you want to run payroll, you can do that, but you will have to pay for it. And the fees vary for desktop and online, and you can find the fee structure online. On the online, they do charge per employee. On the desktop, it's not per month and per employee on the online. And then desktop is just per month. And once again, the fees vary depending on what features you have. You know, one, if you want advanced features, it costs more. I think it starts around $30 a month on top of the, you know, QuickBooks Online fees if you use QuickBooks Online, or the cost of acquiring the desktop license. So it is very, very slick to do it in here. But one thing I would be very careful of is if you are going to be running payroll, please make sure you know what you're doing. Because we've had a number of situations where we've had clients do payrolls themselves and not make tax payments timely, not file quarterly reports to the state, to the Fed. And as a result, they end up having a ton of penalties assessed because they didn't do, you know, all of the above, one of the above, or, you know, pieces of it. And honestly, the penalties ended up being more than if they just had paid somebody to do the payroll for them. So it does have very neat features to do it, but only do it if you know what you're doing, because setting up payroll is you know, does require a lot of research if you've never done it before. And it does have the capability, one of the questions was of tracking time. It does have that. So if you do want to use QuickBooks Online to track time, you can do that. There is also, there's a company, called T-Sheets. QuickBooks owns it, or Intuit owns it, which integrates directly with online and desktop, which you can also use for time tracking. So online, you would have a separate functionality that would add on to it. And of course, like anything, with the online, there's a fee. But with the desktop, there is no fee. If you want to do time tracking on the desktop, that's included. But of course, individuals would have to be set up to be able to, you know, log into QuickBooks to track time. It's not ideal for if you have a lot of employees to do, you know, punching in, punching out. For smaller organizations, it's fine, but not for large. I would recommend using the T-Sheets, which is online, where people can actually clock in and clock out using apps and things like that. So one of the questions was, I stated QuickBooks does not have a tool to track inventory. It does have inventory functionality, but it's not the best. So you can track it, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not the best thing to use. You don't have to pay to upgrade every year for desktop. Like I mentioned before, you pay one time, and then you probably go for 4 or 5 years. So the nice thing about running payroll right through, you know, whether it's online QuickBooks or desktop, is fully integrated. So it will generate, you know, it will create the transaction right into QuickBooks. If you're paying by direct deposit, it does do that on the desktop and online. If you want to pay via direct deposit, there is a fee, of course, for each employee, like $2 per employee for direct deposit. And then also on top of that, you know, it records everything right into QuickBooks. Whereas if you use a third-party software like ADP, Paychex, there's tons of them, you know, Paylocity, tons of them, where you would then have to input all those, you know, transactions into QuickBooks. Oh, okay, I had this much in payroll and so on, which you can do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, whatever your preference is. The nice thing about doing it right out of QuickBooks is it's fully integrated. Okay, let me just take a quick break here and see if I can address some of these questions that are coming through here. Okay, the name of the time tracking company is called T-Sheets. T as in Tom, Sheets. If anybody, but it's integrated right with QuickBooks. So if you want to use that, and it's owned by Intuit as well. T as in Tom. Okay, Let me take you guys to the other features. So like I said, from the desktop feature, you can see everything that all the different options, it goes by vendor, customer, and this section is payroll. And then this section is your banking functionality, check register, and so on. One of the other features I want to show you is when you're setting this up, it's called the chart of accounts. Chart of accounts is literally all your accounts that are set up. So if you have a new account that you want to set up, let's say you didn't have a meal and expense category and you want to set it up, you go here and you set it up. Now be very careful how you set it up, because I've seen people make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes people, don't put it as an expense, put it as an asset or whatever it might be, and create it incorrectly. So make sure you are creating things within QuickBooks accurately. Same thing online. Right here under accounting, it's called chart of accounts. Okay. And the same exact concept. You can see the chart of accounts here. It's extremely important to make sure your chart of accounts is current, valid. Valid in the sense that I've seen many situations where a lot of the accounts are incorrect. It's not utilized correctly, so it's extremely important to have that correct. Because of course, when you run your financials, your profit and loss, your balance sheet, things could be completely incorrect. Okay, so one thing I do want to caution individuals on is I often hear this. I have Quicken that I use for my personal. Can I use Quicken for business? Quicken is a different product, and it's not the same company. It's a different company. And Quicken is only for personal and should never be used for business. And same thing with QuickBooks. QuickBooks is for business and should not be used for personal. It's not meant for personal, it's meant for business. And Quicken is not meant for business purposes. I've seen people use Quicken, but it's not meant what it's meant for. So you should definitely use the right product. And it's two completely different things. Somebody's asking a question, how could I separate my business earnings, expenses, and personal budget if I'm a business owner? Okay, so if you are a business owner, one of the most important things is to keep your business and personal separate. Have a separate bank account for your business, separate account for your personal. You should not commingle business and personal because one, if you get audited, it's going to be a nightmare to pull all that stuff out. If you happen to have included some of that in your tax return. And of course, if you have business and personal mixed up and you're tracking all this and you're giving it to a tax preparer, accountant, CPA, whoever you're using, or you're doing it yourself, going through it and separating out might become a nightmare. So definitely keep it separate. IRS does not like personal and business to be mixed, especially bank accounts. Never, and they frown upon it, and they'll definitely not like it if you get audited, because they'll question every single transaction. How do you know that this was not personal and supposed to business? So make sure you keep it separate from everything, personal business. The next question I have is, can you set up QuickBooks accounts and email to your account for adjustments and return to update your? I'm not sure what you're asking, Billy. I'm not sure what you mean there. Would the charge for the desktop version be a write-off for setup company? Yes. So all the expenses related to purchase of this product, whether it's monthly service or the one-time purchase of the desktop, is a legitimate expense for your business. So you can write it off. Okay, so let's kind of do a quick overview of some of the, I've gone through a lot in a short time frame. It's a lot to take in, but I've gone through a number of things. One, I've gone through the dashboard, which I showed you. The dashboard shows pretty much an overview of various different things, your profit and loss, your, what you have outstanding in invoices or what you've paid and so on, as your bank feeds on the online version. The desktop, the same thing. The dashboard has a similar types of functionality where it's showing you all the different things you can do. And this insight function also shows where you spent your money, what's outstanding, and so on. The other features I talked about are vendor setup, inputting a vendor, inputting a new customer, creating invoices for a customer, also creating vendor invoices, so you can track everything within QuickBooks. We also talked about high level of payroll as well. Let me back out of here. Let me go to the home screen here. We talked about payroll, the connectivity and the features that it offers, of course, being very cautious around, excuse me, being very cautious around how you use the payroll functionality, because if you do it incorrectly, the penalties can be very stiff. And then lastly, of course, I talked about one of the most important features is the reporting functionality, where you can actually run reports, your financials. I think one of the nice things about the report functionalities, especially if you're sending out invoices to customers or clients, you can run an aging report. Aging pretty much is a report that shows how old some of your invoices are, from 0 to 30, 30 to 60. And then you can follow up with your customers. Like, hey, you haven't paid me in 90 days. Where's my check? Where's my payment? So these reports are very important. That's why it's very useful to utilize these types of functionalities within QuickBooks. It's a very powerful software. It does a lot. In a lot of cases, it does way more than most individuals will probably ever use the functionalities of. There's so many different things it can do that, for the day-to-day individual who uses it, probably wouldn't even use most of the functionality, but it has it. It has the capability of doing a lot more. So if your business grows and you get into that position, there is quite a bit that it can do. The desktop is far much more powerful tool than anything else. So, depending on, like I said, what you want to do, you can, buy the desktop version, which is cheaper. Like I said, $200 to $300, depending on, when you buy it. And the online is between $40 to $80 a month. And of course, the more functionality you have, the more you pay. Okay. So at this point, I do want to open it up to address some additional questions from everyone out there. I know I'm getting a number of questions coming through here. One of the questions that just came up is there an integration with logistics software? I am not familiar with any logistics software being integrated, but I would definitely, that is a very more unique or specific situation. So you should probably look into that. I'm not familiar with any that or encountered that situation. So I can't really answer that particular question. How can you track pro bono work? Would that fall under discounts? How do you track donations made in the company name? So donations would be just another category that you would create in your chart of accounts, like it would be an expense, like you just created, like here. Pro bono work is your time, and it's in essence your time donation. You don't really track it. And one thing that I get asked a lot from people is, how can I deduct my pro bono work on the tax return? You cannot deduct pro bono work on your tax return. and you cannot put hours to it and deduct it either. IRS will not allow it. So I get those questions all the time. So you cannot deduct pro bono work. It's just free work that you've given out. Somebody was asking, can you show how to enter a bill that comes in for which I would be making payments again to a contractor. Some payments could be cash, some could be via QuickBooks. Well, all you would have to really do is just enter a bill like you normally would, like any bill, whether it's you're going to pay it in cash or whether you're going to pay it by QuickBooks or Venmo doesn't really matter. Bill is a bill, and how you pay it will depend on either way, if it's coming out of your paying by cash or whatever, you still have to record it. Maybe what you do is you create, if you're paying a lot of things out of cash, create a cash account. See right here, cash expenditures, pay it out of there. So you say you have $1,000 like petty cash, and that's how you're paying it. You create something like that and do it that way. This is a very good question. Somebody just asked, is the desktop portable in the sense that can you install it on a flash drive, run it anywhere? No, you cannot. The QuickBooks must be installed on a computer and run off of a computer. Now, QuickBooks does create a file called it's like a QBO, meaning no different than Excel creates an XLS file or Word creates a .doc file. Same thing, it's called QBO. It creates a QuickBook file. You could take that file, put it in a jump drive and work on it in a different computer. As long as the other computer nobody uses and doesn't work on it, you'll be fine. And then you can bring it back and overwrite the existing version. You could do that, but you can't run it off of a jump drive. It will not work. How complicated is it to set up a general account, a general ledger accounts, or the chart of accounts? So whenever you create a new company within QuickBooks, whether it's online or desktop, depending on the industry you select, service, retail, manufacturing, there's different options when you first create a company, whether it's online or desktop. It will automatically give you a standard chart of accounts based on that industry. So if you're retail, it will say, it'll have some categories in there for retail, but it's not all inclusive, of course. So you will have to create them. And like I had shown previously, all you have to do is go to the chart of accounts and click new, pick your expense. Let's say I'm trying to create, let's talk about donations. Somebody asked about donations. I'm going to say donation. Save and close. Now I have a donations category. Let's go to the online. I'll go to the chart of accounts. Click new. Same exact thing. Create expense. And the online version is kind of weird. It does default certain things, which I'm not a fan of. So I just create an expense, and if I'm doing a donation one, I'll try to find something that's a little bit, the detail type, I want to try to make it a little bit more generic because it doesn't really fit anything. So I'll just say other, and then I delete it, donations, or whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, any type of category you want to try to create, and you'll create it. Now it's created categorical donations. So it's that easy. One of the other questions that popped up is, can we retrieve balance sheets and month-end reports for prior months or prior years? Of course you can. It can go back as far as the QuickBooks data is available. So let's say you started your business in 2011 and it's 2020, it's 9 years, it can go back 9 years. As long as you haven't, deleted transactions, you're fine. And you shouldn't be deleting transactions anyways. So you can go back as far as you want. That's why I like using a software like this, because it does give you the capability of seeing trends and doing it. And like I said, it does customize quite a bit. You can custom make the report however you want it. You can do all dates, mean literally since the beginning of time is when it'll show it. But it's, it just puts it together as one lump number, which doesn't really mean anything. So, but you can customize it. You can just put a date range in here if you wanted to. You can, if you want it just for a day or 2 days or 10 years, you can do that. So one of the other questions, can you automate reports to run on schedule? No, you cannot. But it does have, the neat thing is about QuickBooks Online and Desktop is it does have capability of running certain transactions automatically. So for example, let's say you have rent that you pay every month, okay, $1,000 a month, and you want to record it into QuickBooks, so you don't have to go and record it every single time because it's the same amount every month and it's the same day every month that the payment goes out. And maybe you have it set up as a bill pay where it automatically goes out, or maybe your landlord is directly withdrawing from your bank account. But you don't want to have to worry about inputting to QuickBooks. You can automatically set it up in QuickBooks to automatically just input every month, whether it's desktop or online. You can do that. You can do that with journal entries. I'm not going to go into the detail about that. If some people know what that is, but you can do that. You can automate transactions. You can set up reminders. You say, hey, don't forget to send a bill to Joe. You can put in reminders. So the next time you go in, it'll pop up now. It's not going to send you an email telling you, hey, you have this coming up, only when you go in, whether it's desktop or online, it will do that. Okay, so those are some of the key things that it does do from an automation feature. Can you customize the desktop version to show specific windows and modules? So the desktop home screen here, this is kind of like a standard that they have established, that they typically have set up. You can't really edit any of these, but on the left-hand side, the shortcuts, you can edit those and remove them if you want by customizing the shortcuts on the left-hand side. But these are pretty much what they are. Now, on here, the insights, you can customize this to change it however you want, but you cannot do the other pieces. And you can go into the settings here, and if you don't want to see this, I don't want to see this, get rid of it. It goes away, so you can do that. So a question that popped up is, how easy is it to connect to QuickBooks to Square or POSs? You can do that, but here's a problem that you'll have. So you have a checking account that is recording all the transactions, okay? So Square, whenever you charge $10 on Square, that is then going to be deposited into your bank account. Square then takes their fee and takes it out subsequently. Now, if you have Square connected to it, if you don't set it up correctly, you could have duplicate transactions. So Square is going to bring the feed in, $10, and then the bank's going to come in and bring a feed in of $10. So I'd be very careful if you're trying to connect other POS systems in there. I would just use the checking account as your record of transactions, really, because that's your Bible. Whatever comes in is income. But if it doesn't come in, then there's a problem. But that's your record of everything when it comes down to transactions, from the most important part. Another question: if an error is found for a prior month, will it update the reports, and how do we know it? So when you say an error is found, I'm going to assume some things here. So let's say you're going through some transactions and you find that, oh my God, I put this to the wrong category, I want to change it. Or this transaction shouldn't be in there, and you remove it. When you do that, depending on the month or year it's in, it will, when you run the report, it will update it automatically. So if you happen to have run the report, and you remove the transaction or you update the transaction, it will say, hey, you made a change. Do you want to update the report? You say yes, it will update it. Okay. So another question, do you have to have an accounting background before using this program? No, not necessarily, but I would say having an understanding of how things flow wouldn't hurt. I mean, you can do it. Obviously, anybody can use this particular software, but there are certain things that if you are not an accountant, you wouldn't understand. But like I said, as long as you know the basics, probably get by. And then if you have an accountant review it, and we do this for clients where clients, they manage their own books, we get it, we review it, make the adjustments for them if they're incorrect, and then give it back to them, or give it back to them, meaning if they have a QuickBooks Desktop, or go online and make the appropriate adjustments. Another question about backup. That's a very good question about data backup. So with online, there is no backup that you have to worry about because it's online, it's in the cloud. It's their responsibility to do it. Desktop, you definitely need to back it up. So let me just quickly show you. If you were to do it, you do backup and create a local backup. Now, you can set up automatic backups. So every time you go in, and then when you back out, it can automatically back up the software, or the data, not the software, but the data. Now, of course, like anything, they will also want, I'm not going to do this. They will also want they have a service that you can back up to the cloud. So if you don't want to save it on a jump drive or an external hard drive or anywhere else, you can obviously use their service, the backup service, to the cloud and back it up there. So there's multiple ways you can back up the data from your desktop, but they do have an automated feature. Okay. I'm just going to scroll through some questions here. Somebody asked about, I purchased a desktop version, but there was no industry for childcare. Yeah, so this is, you're not going to find every industry, unfortunately, in here. If you're in a very specific industry, you're going to have to kind of pick whatever's closest to it. So technically, childcare is service. So I would probably pick some category called service, or and go with that, and then customize your chart of accounts to meet your needs, because that's probably your best bet. Okay. Somebody just asked a question about, to ensure that I will be ordering the correct product on Amazon, is the product QuickBooks Desktop Pro Plus 2020 accounting software for small business with a short guide for $199. Yeah, that sounds right. Looks like it comes with a short guide to $200. It's not a bad deal. It looks like they're already 2021 is already out there, so that's not bad. That's the same version. Now, there's other software. There's various different QuickBooks Desktop versions out there. Even in 2021, some will say will give you, has payroll included, like payroll service may have 1 year of payroll included, but your price is going to be higher, for example. So just want to make sure you're aware of that. There's various different types of different products out there. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Looks like there's some people are still punching them in. Oh, yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Let's see.
Somebody just asked, can online version have more than one person access it? Yes. Yes, definitely. You can assign users and restrict. Same thing with desktop. You can assign users and restrict what kind of access people have.
I believe you covered this. Hold on, I'm going to, so there's no background. If you have two different small businesses, can you run both with one subscription of QuickBooks, or do you need one for each business?
That's a good question. So with online, you have to pay for each one. So with desktop, you do not. You just buy the desktop version of QuickBooks, and you can have multiple QuickBook files. Okay, so you're buying just the software, and then the QuickBook file. It's like, an Excel file, right? You create multiple Excel files. Same concept. You create multiple QuickBook files for your different businesses. So desktop does not charge you. It's just the $200 or $300, whatever you pay. Online does. Good question.
Another question came in of, can you run QuickBooks on an iPad?
They do have an app, iPhone app, and a desktop. That's right, iPad app. They do have apps. So if you have online QuickBooks, you can, but of course with limited functionality. So somebody asked, what is the best way to set up if there are multiple users in the Office for desktop version? So in the Office, you can put this on a server, and you need to get a desktop that allows you to have multiple licenses. So you can have, there are licenses or desktop QuickBooks out there that you can have up to 3 people log in at the same time to the same QuickBook file. And then of course what it does is it locks people out if somebody's in it in different sections. So you can do that. You just have to set it up like that if it's on a server. Obviously, if you put it on a computer that only you have access to, others can't access it, of course. So it has to be on some type of a server of sorts that multiple people can access it at the same time. The only other option would be what we do is within our firm, use Dropbox, and we put our files on Dropbox, but where a lot of our team members can access it. And in that situation, only one person can be in at the same time because it'll create a conflict. So you have to be very careful.
Trak in of, can QuickBooks Online help you estimate your quarterly estimated taxes due?
So if you're talking about quarterly estimated taxes for your personal taxes, no, because that's something that your accountant would do from a tax perspective. When it comes to payroll, it'll file your quarterly taxes, of course, based on your payroll taxes, but it does not calculate estimated taxes for you. Any other questions?
We can take a couple more. One question is, which browser does QuickBook Online work best? Chrome, Firefox?
I've used Chrome. I've used Edge. I mean, it works on all of them. Doesn't really matter. You can use anything. Looks like somebody just asked a question about the desktop version. Does the desktop version update payroll tax code? It does. If you have payroll on your desktop, it will update it. You just have to go in and you can force it to update, or it'll automatically push an update through as well. So it does do it. And we have time for one more.
Final question. Can you add your clients to QuickBooks and just allow what you want them to access?
So that's an interesting question. Clients to access your QuickBooks. I've never actually seen clients accessing QuickBooks, but you can control whatever access you want within QuickBooks, whether it's desktop or online. So you just set up the user and then restrict whatever access. If you want them to have access only to the check register, you can do that. If you want them to have access to only payroll, they can do that. You can do pretty much whatever level type of access you want.
Great. Well, thank you so much again, Trak, for joining us this afternoon and guiding us through the two different versions. And if someone needs to contact you, can you please share your website, email address?
Yes, definitely. Let me get to that screen here. So if we go to the last page here. Oops. So here's my email. My website is arccconsulting.com or consulting.com. And my phone number to the office is right here, 847-295-0671. The email, just be careful. There's 3 C's in there. And same thing with the website, it's ARCC and then the word consulting.com. But if anybody has questions or needs assistance or advice or anything like that, or anything, just feel free to reach out.
Great, thank you for joining us. So please feel free to reach out if we did not get a chance to go to your question. And as we wrap up, Trak, any final words?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And it's been a tough year, but I think there's good opportunities ahead. And I want to wish everybody good luck in the rest of the year and upcoming 2021. And thank you very much for joining us. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you again. Good final words. So thank you so much, Trak, with the positive message. Thank you all for joining us. And just a little housekeeping information that this webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel. And that is youtube.com/Chicago BACP. So with that, thank you so much and have a good rest of your day.